Module 3, Joe Cerrone. I'm going to go over the architectural applications in Module 3, which can be found right here. And what we're going to do is we are going to draw this stair plan from the Harnessing AutoCAD work exercises. So let's get started on that. We're going to start by downloading the B-size architectural title block. I'm going to right click on it, save target as, and save that target to my local USB drive. And you can save it anywhere you want. I'm going to put mine in my Spring directory. And we'll open that. So this will give me a Oakton Community College B-size title block, and the computer starts me off in what's called paper space, also known as layout mode, and you can tell by this right triangle here in the bottom left hand corner. The title block is basically set up in paper space so that when we display the item, it's set so that it fits on an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. We're going to take a look at the interface. I'm going to hit the Home tab here, and what I like to do is to just show how the interface is set up. I like the menu bar enabled, so if you don't see this bar, File, Edit, View, you want to make sure that this hide menu is not enabled, and so we want to show the menu bar. And the other thing that I like to do is I like to use the words rather than the icons. And so if you right click on one of these OSNAP buttons here and disable use icons, it's a little easier to kind of set up this drawing. Let's take a look at what we have here in the exercise. In the exercise we have some basic settings. We're going to check the units to make sure that's architectural. We'll set up our limits. We'll enable a grid, a snap, and then we'll make these layers. So let's get started. Switching back to AutoCAD. One other thing I like to do is I do like to put on a properties toolbar and a layer toolbar. And so you'll notice that I have these buttons over here. These are called toolbars. And to enable these toolbars, we select Tools, Toolbars, AutoCAD, and that was the layer toolbar. And then I'm just going to park it. And I also have the Properties toolbar, and it's the same technique: Tools, Toolbars, AutoCAD, Properties. I'm not going to enable that because it's already there, but you can do the same thing as I did for the layer toolbar. We're going to switch over to model space, and we're going to then start by verifying the units. Format units, and I am set for architectural, and we're going to then set up the limits. Format drawing limits. Lower left hand corner we will leave at 0, 0, so I will hit enter. As you can see down here, it's 0, 0. In the upper right hand corner I'm going to set up as 22 feet, 17 feet. Enter. If I want to enable a grid, I can select the grid button, and I can right mouse click and go to the settings for that, and I can see that my snap and grid is enabled. I'm going to set my snap for 3 inches, and I'm going to set my grid for 6 inches. And OK. We can create the layers next, and the layers we're going to create, we can click on the layer manager here, or you can click on it over here, or you can type in layer. And there are some layers that come with this title block. So the wall layer we don't have to create. It's already created for us. The color is also correct. If you double click in between these, sometimes you can't see the words. It'll open that up. And it's got a 0.5 mm line weight. And you know, the exercise from the textbook doesn't have line weights. And so I will enable some line weights. It makes the drawings look better. But they're asking us for a stair riser, and that color is going to be blue. So I'll say new layer. And another layer called tread. And it's going to be white. Now if you don't see white on here, it's this one, color number 7. It depends on how you have your background color set. And we'll make a layer called door, and that will be red. I'm going to start by enabling the wall layer, and you can see the wall layer is enabled. To make sure that it's enabled, you can go there and take a look and see that the green check mark is here. If it's not, you can then select it here. So now that we have that layer enabled, let's take a look at the drawing. And we have an 11-foot by 7'8", and then they really don't give us, you know, the distance from here to the inside edge of the wall. So I'm just going to make that 4 feet. So we'll start off by making a So as we were saying, there's a dimension missing here, and after doing a calculation, I've decided to make the entire length of this wall 15 feet. And so the room size, or the stairwell size, will be 11 feet by 15 feet, and then we'll make the calculations required for this component here. So we'll start off with the line command. We have our snap and grid enabled. Our snap is at 3 inches. And we'll just come to a spot here, and we'll drive this up, and we'll drive that up, and we'll type in 11 feet, enter. And I'll enable my line weight so we can see that a little better, and we'll bring that out this way, and we'll make that 15 feet. We'll drive this down this way. And if I enable the polar tracking, you will start to get a green tracking mark when the line is vertical. 11 feet. And we'll bring this back 15 feet. Now that we have that roughed out, we'll take a look at the wall thickness. The wall thickness is 4 15/16. I'm not sure why the author chose that value, but to be able to offset that value, we will select offset. We'll type in the amount 4-15/16, enter. Select the line and the side. Line and side. And then hit escape. We'll trim it, trim, enter to select everything as a cutting line, and we'll click on the components that we don't need. Then we'll start to locate the interior sections of the stairs themselves. And if we take a look at the drawing, I think what we'll do is we'll work this with these dimensions here first. locating this corner 4 feet 2 inches from this interior and 4 feet from this interior. Offset 4 feet. Return 4 feet 2. So I'm doing a few calculations here, and it would be good to kind of see some of the dimensions on here. So I'm going to switch over to a dimension layer and just put a quick dimension on here so that I can keep track of what I'm doing. And so we've got 11 feet 0 inches, and we don't really need to see the grid. Let's disable that. And then we have a 4 foot 2 inch by 4 foot. And I'm going to pull these out a little bit. Put a grip on it. And we'll bring that out. Okay, now the way the drawing looks, we need to kind of do a little bit of calculating, and what I found is the middle of the stair tread is in the middle of the wall, and so what we'll do is we'll come back here and we'll make a line from the midpoint. And to get a midpoint O-snap, you can hold the shift key and right mouse click and select midpoint. So I'll get this midpoint line, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to color it red, and I'm going to put it on the stair riser layer. And so that is, in fact, I could probably not color it red. I think I'll just make this by layer, and we'll say that's our riser. And so we'll then offset that 11 inches to each side. It looks to me like we've got about a 1 inch hidden line here, and you can also see that it hit exactly on this mark right here, which is what we want. So I'm going to pull this back, and then I'm going to hit escape to clear that grip, and I'll pull this grip in. I can do the same with these, or I can trim them. And then offset those 1 inch. It's the graphics card that gives us that little jagged look. We'll put these onto a hidden line layer. Now if I don't have a hidden line layer here, we can come in here and we can create one. I think it's better than overriding the properties, and so we'll come into our layer manager. We'll do it this way, and we'll say new, and we'll say hidden, and we'll make this a light blue. We'll give it a hidden line type by saying load, and we'll come down here to line types, and we'll get hidden 0.5. We'll enable that, and then we can click on the item we want to put on that layer. Now if we don't see it, let's adjust the LT scale, and we'll use a value of 24 is a good value, and typically 24, 48 tend to be values that the common denominator would be 1/8 of an inch equals a foot, or 1/2 an inch equals a foot, and so that's where those values will come from. So we'll put these on our hidden line layers. And we'll continue the rest of the detailing. So we're going to take a look at the drawing here. And it's a symmetrical drawing. And so there are some dimensions that are missing on it, but essentially what we're going to do is we're going to put in these 4" by 4" posts, and we're going to make a 1" retainer here that goes around these posts. And what we can then do once we have this part drawn and this is to mirror it over to the second half. So getting back to AutoCAD. So we're going to go and offset 1". And then I'm going to trim these. And then in this area right here, I'm going to draw the post, and I'm going to move it after I draw it because they're slightly off if we check the drawing. And so that's the first post. And the second post is going to be located at the end of the stairs down this way, which we're going to go and draw our 11" treads by offsetting 11 inches here. And we'll trim this. You'll notice when I trim, I start at the far end and then I work my way over. That way I won't have leftover geometry. And then we'll offset this 11 inches. And we'll have 4 stairs there. We can offset each of these 1". Select this object to offset and the side to offset. Object, side, escape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these by putting a grip on them. And if I miss, it's okay. It'll just let me keep selecting. And I'll put those on that hidden layer. And then hit escape. And then we're going to do the other post over here. And so I'm just going to draw a line. Turn off my snap. And the line is just kind of estimated out here. I'm just going to throw it like right here at this point. And we'll put that on layer wall. And then we'll offset that 4". And trim. So that's what the interior of this component looks like. We can put a dimension on here and see if we've got this at 3 feet 8. And we came out good. So our values are working right. And then we've got this 1" riser value. And what we're going to do is we're going to mirror this, and we'll create the other side. Before I do mirror it, I am going to put in the up arrow. And so what I'll do is I'll come over here. When you do arrows with sort of a bold look to them, I like to use a fill pattern. And so what I'll typically do is I'll draw half of the item, and I'm just going to kind of estimate it at about right here. And I think we'll put this on layer. I think we'll make it right. I'm going to put it on the door layer. and I'll draw half of the arrow. And I did a little tracking there. And then I'm going to mirror that. And then I'm going to go to the hatch pattern, and I'm going to choose solid and fill that in and write the word up. Annotate. I like to use single line text. It gives you a little bit more control over it. We'll say 4 inches tall, rotation angle 0. We'll then mirror the item. I'm going to use a blue window to only select this geometry in the blue window. This stuff right here. I don't need to mirror this part here. I'm going to hit enter, and then when it asks me for the first point of the mirror line, I'm going to take the midpoint. Shift, midpoint, and I'll bring that out where it kind of tracks across. If you can't get a tracking point, just turn on the ortho, and that'll work just fine. Do you want to erase the source objects? No. And it'll mirror the items, and then we'll just trim it. And so we'll say trim, enter, and we'll clean this up a little bit. Now I probably should have adjusted the inside edge of the way the stairs are set for the way the posts are here. So I'm going to pause this and I'll make the adjustment, but if you're watching this video, this will be acceptable to be turned in as the assignment. So we have one little thing here that we want to fix. If we look at the drawing, and I'm just going to trim this here before I do. It shows that these posts are kind of embedded into the stair detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them in 3 inches. And so I'm going to select move. I'm going to use a blue window. I hit enter. Select where I want to move it from. I'm just going to click a point and then move it to the left and type 3 and enter. And then I'm going to extend and trim to get the detail the way that I want that. So I'm also going to have to move this direction until this part is even with this, and so that's going to be 5 inches. And so I'm going to say move. And the same with the bottom part. Now, if this is the first time you've gone and done AutoCAD, I'm not going to expect this to be exactly, you can leave it the way that it was before. I think the author really should have put the details on that. And so we'll make it exactly per print. I'm going to trim these items. And I'm going to offset this line 4 inches. And I'm going to extend this. And I'm going to then offset this line 1 inch. and I'm going to do a fillet with a radius of 0 to corner those. And that's a trick. And then we'll trim. And we'll do the same thing here at the other end. And so we'll fillet. Whoops. We'll go ahead and just say offset 4. Fillet. Radius 0. And we can fillet this part here too. And I can extend these lines, click on them with a grip. And we'll just trim these parts of the risers that stick in there. This one I need to get rid of. We'll change this to down. And then we'll put a door opening in here. And I think what we'll do is we'll offset 6 inches. We'll put a grip on this and pull this through. Offset 3 feet. And then we'll trim. Pull these things through. Okay, so we have our drawing created. There's a few dimensions that you'll need to put on, but for the most part, this is almost complete. Let me just trim my last set of lines here, and so I'll trim out the midpoints here, and then I'm going to erase the remainder. That will be the fastest way for me to accomplish this. Okay, so we have almost all the components on here. The only thing here, let's see, this is not right, that we need to do here now is to add a few more dimensions. You're going to want to put the 4x4 for these posts here, and the notes that say hidden lines represent stair risers. If I click on the floor plan tab, I can double click in the viewport, and I can set the scale. The scale is set for 3/8 of an inch equals a foot, and that actually works quite well. I'll double click outside of the viewport, and then you can go by completing your student name, and don't forget the project date and scale. That completes this exercise.